distinguished heads of state and government, esteemed ministers, valued representatives of international organizations, my dear young friends, I greet you all with my most heartfelt feelings, with respect and affection. Welcome to Antalya, the city of history, culture, and diplomacy. You have honored us with your presence. I extend my special thanks to my esteemed friends who have accepted our invitation in person and are with us today. I am delighted to host them in this Mediterranean city, home to unique beauty. I would like to first of all express my thanks to my friends because of the unfortunate event in Şanlıurfa by calling me, by reaching out to me. So I would like to extend my thanks to them. May Allah not show this, such bitterness, such sorrow to any nation, to any people. I hope that the fifth edition of the Antalya Diplomacy Forum this year will yield beneficial outcomes for our region in particular and for the entire world. I hope that the discussions, assessments, and exchanges of ideas held as part of the program, along with the side events and bilateral meetings throughout the forum, will be productive. In terms of participation, representation, scope, and content, the Antalya Diplomacy Forum has become a global brand. I congratulate our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, and his team for yet another successful edition of the forum. And I also would like to congratulate Mevlüt Çavuşoğlu, the Antalya MP, who pioneered the forum during his tenure. At the outset of my speech, I would like to emphasize one point in particular. As Turkey, we do not confine the Antalya Diplomacy Forum within the limits of the concept of diplomatic contact. We regard this event as an intellectual platform for in-depth consultations on the direction of the world, the values that can unite humanity, and emerging areas of interaction. We are all very aware of one fact. Today, diplomacy is no longer merely a field in which problems, disputes, and interests are negotiated. Diplomacy also means a forum, represents a forum for debating the principles that will shape humanity's shared future. 5 years ago, to take the pulse of diplomacy, we set out with the goal of creating a global platform. Today, we see that the Antalya Diplomacy Forum has become a shared platform for global intellect, global conscience, and hope for future. Mapping tomorrow, managing uncertainties. This is the theme of the forum. So over the next 3 days, the discussions under this theme will further highlight this unique and special aspect of the forum. I trust that the forum, enriched by your visionary ideas, will contribute to Turkey's mission as the key to peace. And I would like to thank each one of you in advance. Distinguished guests, as humanity, in order to understand the period we're going through, we must correctly analyze the process and read the dynamics accurately. Explaining today's shocks in the international system solely by changes in the balance of power would distract us from the very essence of the issue. Yes, the distribution of power is changing, is shifting. Yes, new actors are rising. Yes, competition is escalating, intensifying, and becoming increasingly destructive. However, none of this changes the fact that we are facing a much sharper rupture. Today, the world is experiencing not only a crisis of power, but also a crisis of direction. At this point, it's evident that we are at a serious and dangerous threshold. While the system that is claimed to be rule-based falls silent where rules are violated, the mechanisms tasked with protecting human rights and global security remain ineffective in the face of gravest attacks. The core problem here is selective justice, instrumentalized principles, and our shared values held hostage to power relations. Therefore, the crisis unfolding in the global system is first and foremost a moral and existential crisis. To see the scale the crisis has reached, it is enough to look at Gaza after October 7. Over the past 2.5 years, 73,000 Palestinians have lost their lives in Israeli attacks, while the number of wounded has exceeded 172,000 people. The number of young Gazan children killed has surpassed 21,000. The number of children left without parents has exceeded 58,000. Despite the ceasefire, 754 Palestinians have been killed and 2,100 people have been wounded. First, we must acknowledge this. Viewing what is happening in Gaza merely as a humanitarian tragedy falls short. The genocide in Gaza has shown us quite clearly what the current order permits, what it ignores, and whom it protects. We must all put our hands on our conscience and seek the answers to the following questions. If a system cannot protect innocent babies in incubators against bullets, if it cannot prevent the mass targeting of civilians, if institutions and rules cannot stop the cruelty of the oppressors, is this not a structural failure and an ontological rot? Is this picture not the most blatant manifestation of a crisis of morality and legitimacy? Yesterday in Syria and Gaza, today in the West Bank and Lebanon, how can we be expected to trust a system that failed its most fundamental test of humanity? Furthermore, how can it even be imagined that we would remain idle in the face of this systemic crisis that affects the future of our brothers, our friends, and our children? My dear friends, first and foremost, I'm saying it very clearly. We have brought to the global agenda 13 years ago that the world is bigger than five. So, unless the representation gap is closed, neither can the systemic crisis be resolved, nor the construction of a fairer world would be possible or probable. A global system that solely observes the law of the powerful will only lead humanity into a deeper, greater dead end of conflicts and injustices. The war that has choked our region with the scent of gunpowder for the past 40 days has been the latest example of this. This meaningless and highly costly war initiated by the provocations of the Israeli government saw a 15-day ceasefire declared through the initiatives, thanks to the initiatives of my dear brother, Prime Minister Sharif of Pakistan. So we believe that the window of opportunity offered by this ceasefire must be utilized in the most effective way to establish a lasting peace. No matter how deep the conflicts may be, we must not allow weapons to once again replace words or bloody struggle to replace negotiation. Let it not be forgotten. The shortest path to peace is constructive dialogue and diplomacy. To use the eloquent expression of our People's Alliance partner, Mr. Devlet Bahçeli, peace is not a one-winged bird. It's of great importance for the parties to act with a conciliatory, patient, and prudent understanding to achieve results. Furthermore, at this critical stage, one must remain ready and vigilant against any attempt by Israel to dynamite the negotiation process. Regarding the Strait of Hormuz, where tensions are escalating, our stance is very clear. If one side of Hormuz is Iran, the other side is Oman. The right of the Gulf countries to have access to the high seas must not be restricted, to the international waters must not be restricted. The essential goal is to ensure freedom of navigation based on established rules and to keep Hormuz open to the commercial vessels. It's evident that the war has accelerated the search for alternative routes to bring energy resources from neighboring countries to international markets. As Turkey, we are open to cooperation with our neighbors through visionary projects such as the development road. We are saddened by the destruction and loss of life caused by the war in Ukraine, another conflict area in our immediate vicinity. We continue to believe that the war will end through a negotiation process in which the parties are represented fairly and equally. I would like to express with all my sincerity that Turkey stands ready to support any and all facilitation efforts for the continuation of direct negotiations, including the summits at the leaders' level, should the parties be willing. The strengthening of peace, stability, and normalization in our neighbor, Syria, is of vital importance for the future of our region. Under the prudent leadership of President Shara, we are pleased with the progress Syria made over the past year and a half, and I would like to express that we will continue to stand by the Syrian people in the period ahead. Distinguished participants, in our Balkan vision, shaped by deep-rooted historical ties, the reinforcement of peace, stability, and prosperity continues to be our priority. With this mindset, we are highly optimistic about the Balkan Peace Platform, which we have brought to life. On the other hand, we are strengthening the organization of Turkic states, which we regard as the guarantor of peace and tranquility in Eurasia with each passing day. This year, we will host the 13th summit of the Organization of Turkic States in our country. And in the final quarter of this year, we will take over the term presidency from Azerbaijan. During our term presidency, we will inshallah further increase the international effectiveness and visibility of our organization. In coordination with Azerbaijan, we are advancing the normalization process with our neighbor Armenia step by step. In this regard, we continue our strong support for the Trans-Caspian East-West Middle Corridor Initiative, which is the most reliable route for trade between Asia and Europe. We wish to see the Aegean and the Eastern Mediterranean as basins of stability and prosperity. To this end, just as we reject unilateral and maximalist attitudes that attempt to exclude Turkey and the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, we also find the futile efforts of those who seek to benefit from a war environment to be utterly wrong. The resilient stance of the Turkish Cypriots has now proven to the entire world the reality of two distinct peoples and two separate states on the island. We believe that the positive atmosphere we have established with our neighbor Greece should not only facilitate the resolution of our bilateral issues, but also contribute to ending violations of the rights of the Turkish minority in Western Thrace. In another brotherly country, Libya, our active efforts to ensure calmness and security continue. We sincerely support the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and development efforts of African countries. In Sudan, since April 2023, conflicts have been ongoing, and we stand by all diplomatic efforts to end these conflicts. In recent years, to ensure its stability and security, Somalia has taken significant steps. Our support for Somalia's territorial integrity and economic prosperity remains unwavering. As Turkey, while pursuing our foreign policy across different regions and continents, we are also strengthening our existing alliance ties. As one of the leading countries of NATO, the guarantor of the collective security of the Euro-Atlantic region, we will host the Leaders Summit in Ankara on 7th and 8th of July this year. At this summit, we hope to adopt important decisions that will carry the alliance forward with its renewed strength, and we are already laying the groundwork to this end. On this occasion, I would like to emphasize once again that as history, geography, and geopolitics repeatedly remind us, Turkey is an integral part of Europe. The shared challenges we face today have once again demonstrated the strategic value of our partnership with Europe. While we remain committed to our goal of full membership in the European Union, we expect the Union to overcome its crisis of direction and to remain faithful to the vision of its founding leaders. In upcoming November, we will also host the 31st conference of the parties to the UNFCCC here in Antalya. Throughout our COP31 presidency, we will prioritize policies that align the environmental agenda with the aspirations of young people, including efforts to expand the zero waste movement. My dear friends and distinguished guests, before I conclude my words, I would like to share the following sentiment. Throughout history, peace, stability, and justice have been achieved not only through power, but also through solidarity. As the great thinker Ibn Khaldun observed, what sustains a society is not the power it possesses, but the asabiya that gives power to its that gives power and the sense of unity, a shared destiny, and solidarity. As people of conscience, the more we strengthen the cause of peace and humanity against the forces of war and genocide, the more confidently we can look to the future. Therefore, today the issue is not merely to build new institutions, a system, or an order. The main issue is to be able to establish a new ground of solidarity. I regard your presence at the Antalya Diplomacy Forum as a valuable contribution to the establishment of this ground of solidarity. I would like to thank each and every one of you for being with us. With these thoughts, I wish that the forum will yield auspicious outcomes. I would like to congratulate our Ministry of Foreign Affairs and everyone who contributed to this event once again, and I greet you all with respect and affection. Stay in good health. We would like to thank His Excellency President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for his address.